My students are probably sick and tired of me telling them all the time to stand up to open the closed guard. So in this video, I'm going to attempt to explain why I believe that standing up to open up the closed guard is your safest option. One of the first things we're going to talk about is the fact that when we're inside someone's closed guard, that our necks are very close to the person. So there is a risk of strangulation. So for example, if I take Felix here and he's inside my closed guard and he's on both knees right now. So when he's on both knees, his neck is definitely relatively close to me. And there's dangers like, for example, a cross-collar strangle where they can get inside your collar. They can pull you down here and they can get you to tap here by cutting off your carotids. Another strangulation danger we have to deal with when we're inside someone's closed guard is the triangle. So for example, maybe I have the top player here, or Felix is inside what we call a clamp guard. From here, we always can access the triangle here where I start getting his head and arm inside my legs. From here, we can finish up a nice triangle. And that's a huge danger right here because our legs are so powerful and his neck is so close to my legs. So another situation we can that Felix has to deal with here is straight arm lock. So for example, if I could get out Felix's elbow in, I could get up into the top lock. From here, we can go to straight arm bar. So you see I have his arm right here. I can take it across and get him with the straight joint lock. Not only do we have straight arm bar dangers, but if I could get him down, possibly come up here. We also have twisting locks where I could get him into a form of a kimura. So as you can see, there's lots of submission dangers from here, from triangles to collar strangles to straight arm locks, twisting arm locks. Everything there is accessible to the bottom player. So you've seen a few examples of submission strangulations, arm locks, etc. Now what we're going to look at is another danger, which is the reversal of the position. Okay, so for example, Felix is in my closed guard. He's very close to me. If I could somehow pull this arm across and get a hold of him here and start building up, I now have access to Felix's back. So his back is so close to me that I can pretty easily just crawl around his body. And now we have access from behind him where I can go into my various submissions or continue to improve my position. Another danger from reversal positions here, and this is because of the orientation of how we are, with my hips right now are on top of Felix's hips and we're attached here. So any sweep that I do from here will put me directly on top of Felix in some sort of mounted position. So for example, maybe I go for that back take. We start going to the side, but Felix decides to bring his head over me, hiding his back. Well, from here, I can bump him over and we end up right on top of him. The mount is basically an inverted closed guard. So once we get into this position, anytime someone sweeps you from the top, from closed guard, you're gonna end up mounted. Look, we'll show one more example that it's going to end up as a completely different type of sweep, but it's still going to end us up in the mounted position. So for example, let's say I'm trying to pull Felix's arm across and he's really fighting this way. I can just come up and sweep him and look, a different sweep completely, but I still end up in the same position. This is the danger of being on your knees inside someone's closed guard, is every reversal that's going to happen is going to end up with the top player becoming the bottom player and being mounted, which is one of the best pinning positions we have in Jiu-Jitsu. So as you can see, there's lots of dangers from me being in this position. As I showed you from the bottom position, that there's all sorts of submission dangers, the arm locks, the strangulations. Any sweep basically puts me in one of the worst possible positions, not just a pin, but the pin from either where I'm being pinned from my back or being pinned from the mounted position or the top mount where they sit right over my belly. These are all terrible. Now let's contrast that. For example, if I stand up. When I stand up here, okay, ask yourself, can he arm lock me? Is my arm close enough for him to get his hips all the way up to my armpit to arm lock me? No, obviously not. Can he twisting arm lock me from here? No, there's no way he's gonna reach me for any kind of twisting arm lock. It's not gonna happen. Okay, reversals. If he sweeps me from here, will he end up in the mounted position? Well, if I lean back a little bit and my head's a little behind my hips, that's not gonna happen. Why? Because my head will lead where my body goes. Now, if I really lean down far here and forward, and Felix does a backwards row, yes, absolutely, we could still end up in a terrible position. But that was mainly because of my head positioning. If I would keep my head back, then I could avoid that kind of sweep. So, as you can see, as I stand up in this position, most of those dangers are nullified, okay? Now, sure, I left behind my legs, he could attack, but that means he has to open up. And when he does, I can be ready for him. And once he opens up, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Remember, the only reason we're standing up is to open the closed guard. So whether he opens it for me because he wants to switch to something else, or I end up opening it because we stand up and I can open his guard from safety, it doesn't matter. Either way, the guard is opened. Now, if you've been doing jiu-jitsu for even a limited amount of time, you're gonna realize and maybe be thinking to yourself, well, sure, I could stand up and I can minimize my risk of arm locks, I can minimize the risk of strangulation, I could even minimize my risk of being swept into a mounted position, but it's pretty easy to sweep me backwards. Maybe it's happened to you a bunch of times already. So for example, I stand up, and as I stand up, Felix somehow knocks me backwards, right? I'm sure you've been here, and then it gets frustrating. But I want you to embrace that, because as you've seen, by him knocking me backwards, he had to open his guard. And that's exactly what I wanted. That was the whole purpose of standing up, was to open his guard. And now it's open. Now, that's only going to be a problem if I let Felix not only knock me down, but become the top player. So, say I get in position, I stand up, he somehow gets his legs back, he comes up here and ends up in top. Sure, this is bad, okay, especially if we're in a competitive environment. I mean, I'm going to have to deal with that a bunch of times as I'm practicing this. It's going to happen. Okay, so your first, 2 times, 5 times, 30 times, 100 times, you might get knocked down and that guy gets on top of you. Okay, that's fine. That's what we're going to have to work through. I want you to embrace that and try to understand that there are a lot of things we can do to stop that from happening. In fact, it's pretty awkward for you to get on top of me from that position. So let's take a close look at basically one of the main things that Felix needs if he knocks me down to be able to come up on top, right? So if I stand up and Felix knocks me down and I fall, if I can keep his feet from being able to touch the mat, he's going to have a very difficult time to get up on top of me because he can't generate any connection to the ground to be able to stand up. When he tries to pop up right now, it's going to be very awkward if I can just keep his feet off the ground. So when he tries to stand, go ahead, he tries to come up over me, it's very weird for him, right? And I can simply come up into standing positions now and immediately look to start passing. Why? Because his guard is now open. I can go around the outside. I can choose to pass through the inside. The choice is up to you. Once the guard's open, now you can go either direction you want to go. Let me also show you one other option you have, and it's sort of making him pay for knocking me down, okay? So if I go and stand up here, no matter how I do it, he knocks me down. When he knocks me down and I stop him from being able to get to the top position, he immediately gives me access to his feet here. If I can create some wedges and I have access to his foot, I can even go ahead and finish him with a straight foot lock, making him maybe think twice the next time he wants to knock me down while I'm trying to stand up inside his close guard. Yes, it's going to take you a while to develop that ability to stand up, not get knocked over, and believe me, the first times you do it, maybe the first 20, 30, whatever, 100 times, whatever it takes, you're going to stand up in someone's guard, they're going to knock you down, and they may even get on top of you. You're going to have to learn to deal with that, but I want you to embrace it. I want you to appreciate that. That's part of the process. Once you learn about that, you're going to stand up in everybody's closed guard, you'll never pass their guard or open their guard again from your knees. Now what I want to show you is the stages of standing up, and we'll even talk about one of the biggest mistakes I see my students make. Okay, so you'll notice right now I'm inside Felix's closed guard. I'm on my knees, I'm on both knees. There's going to be a point where I'm going to start to stand up, but it's not easy for me to just jump to my both feet. Now, I can do it, there are strategies to do it, but typically it's going to look something like where I get some kind of control in his posture to keep him down, I get some hand control, and you'll notice I go up to 1 foot first. So you'll see this phase here, I'm on 1 foot up and 1 knee down, okay? I have a little bit of forward lean, typically my head is right above my hands, okay? This is a phase that there's gonna be some off balancing that I'm gonna have to deal with, so I'm gonna have to be able to find some comfort here and some balance, maybe even find myself having to reset back to my knees just to get squared up, okay? So there's gonna be this first phase, you're gonna have to learn to deal with this, okay? Keeping pressure. Then there's gonna be another phase where I'm gonna get to my second foot, and a lot of times my head's gonna be down in this posture here. This posture here is another dangerous position, okay? Felix could start swinging for omoplatas. Yeah, swing your body around. Yeah, he could start swinging for omoplatas and kind of attacking me here. He could try to throw up a triangle if I wasn't careful. All right, so this is a phase I have to move through, not super rapidly. I don't have to go fast, but I have to be cautious here. Where I want to get to is to walk my body up nice and tall and be in this posture here. Sometimes when people feel off balance, when my students feel off balance, they tend to reach forward. This is not great. Felix can take me right over his head by doing a backwards roll and puts me right into a bad position here, okay? So there's still risk of ending up in a bad position if my posture isn't good. So as we're going through these from this knee position, both knees down, all the way to standing, there's going to be those little stages, and you're going to have to develop your skill set in each one of those stages, all right? This is the beginning stage. This is the stage we're trying to get to. Notice, hips forward. My hips are forward. I'm leaning back a little bit. Why? Because I don't want to get swept that way. He ends up on top of me for sure. If he's going to sweep me, he's going to sweep me this way. That's okay if it happens, all right? But if you can keep some control on his hands, it's going to be very difficult for him to do it. I can still open his guard from here, and we can begin to pass, and now we're into an open guard situation, and this is how we start passing the legs. Look, there's going to be many different ways that you can go from this position inside the closed guard all the way to standing. There's going to be some basic things that you're going to need to accomplish as you're trying to do this and trying to build the skills to do this. One, I have to control his posture, and I have to maintain my posture. If Felix can sit up on me, this is going to be very difficult to stand up inside his closed guard. So I have to maintain him down in a bottom position. Also, I can't allow Felix to pull me down towards him. If he pulls me down towards him, this is going to be very difficult to stand up. If I stood up now, I would stand up with extremely poor posture, and it would not be safe, okay? Most likely, I'm going to end up getting swept over, and he's going to be in the mounted position. So first, think about posture, both your own, maintain a good, strong posture here, and your partner's posture. Don't let him come up on you. He comes up on you, put him back down. One way we could do this is by taking control of his lapels and then holding him down. When he tries to sit up on me now, we go ahead and push him down and we keep him down here. Another thing you're going to have to think about is when you stand up, I want to stand up with my foot fairly close to him. And what the bottom player will do is often take advantage of that. For example, if I stand up here, he might scoop under my leg, he bumps his hips this way and sits me down on my hips. And if he's good, he'll actually end up coming right to the top position. And this could be, it could defeat everything I'm trying to do, right? We're trying to not get swept into that kind of position, okay? There's many ways that you can stand up and avoid that. One of them, we could simply get control of his hand and then make sure that we stand up on that side first. That way he cannot use that arm to scoop. Now he cannot use it, we come up. Again, we come into this fully erect position here. From here, we start opening his guard, and right away we start owning inside position, or we can back away and make sure we avoid his guard altogether by doing some outside passing, okay? So outside passing, inside passing, whatever you want to do is fine, but we have to get that guard open. I want you to remember, and this is a mistake I see all the time, I like when my students grab this lapel here. This is a great control mechanism. okay? Now, whether you grab that hand, if I grab this hand, that's great. If for some reason I can't, I can always step up with the other leg too. The nice thing about this is I have a good posture control here. Even when he scoops me here, he has to get my knee to face that way. So I can just face this way on him, opposite, and I could still stand up without having that control. Now here's where a lot of my students make a mistake. They stay in this area right here with their hand down on the chest. As soon as I'm on my feet, I no longer need to control his posture with this hand. I need to immediately walk it up to his legs, and I'll start coming into the standing position. My feet are fairly close. I don't want to be super wide here, all right? I don't want to be like this. I have little stability here, all right? I want to be upright, fully erect, posture, even leaning back a little bit. He tries to open up, that's fine. I just make sure I own the inside position, pin him down, or just back away from his feet so his feet can't touch me and start switching direction, okay? Now I can start passing around the outside. So, in conclusion, what I want you to understand is that while in the beginning, when you're learning how to do this, it's going to be frustrating. You're going to fall a lot. It's going to be a little scary to stand up and have someone knock you down. That's why we practice break falls every single day in class, to make sure that you're comfortable falling backwards. As long as you're comfortable falling backwards and you build the skill to deal with that falling backwards, remember, even if he knocks you backwards or she knocks you backwards, to do that, they have to open their guard. And that's exactly what you want. You need them to open their guard. It's one of the most difficult things to do in jiu-jitsu is to get that guard open, but this makes it much easier. So stand up to open their closed guard, and your passing will become much, much smoother. Guard's open. Try to keep your guard close. So as you can see from those examples there, it's about controlling posture, being able to get up, keeping my balance, maintaining my balance. And the whole purpose of standing up is to make it easier to open the closed guard. You even noticed at times when I got knocked backwards that my partner couldn't actually get to the top position. So while he did knock me down, it doesn't count as a sweep. He doesn't score points. And more importantly, he doesn't get on top in a controlling position. By simply controlling his pants, getting back to my feet, I've opened his closed guard. Now, at any time that you're trying to open the closed guard and your partner on the bottom opens their guard for you, there's no need to stand then. As soon as their guard opens, we can begin to pass it. The standing is only for you to be able to open your partner's guard safely. So you're not in those dangers of being swept into mounted positions. You're not in those dangers of the triangles, the cross collar strangle, the arm bar, the omoplatas. All those risks are nullified as soon as you stand up. Also, if he opens his guard, just pass.